This is what we do every week, helping people out, diving a little bit deeper in that, talking about clearing, cleansing some of those things from your bodies, from your energy.
This is more my space. So Zac's more real estate space. I'm more in the energetics and so.
And you should listen to her because she's really freaking smart when it comes to these things.
He is like the happiest, most positive person that I know. So much so I'm like, is this real? Like, but it is.
I'm an expert in creative finance. Love creative finance. Talk to Face Off about that and all the wonderful things with that. Mindset and raising private capital.
I'm an energy healer. I teach intuitive development and spiritual mentor. And I help people learn about themselves and how to use their energy and the energy around them to create realities that they really enjoy and want.
Whatever comes up for you guys. That's the point. That's the beauty of you guys showing up here live for everything, is that we want to answer your questions. We want to dive deeper into your examples. We want to help you specifically. Hey everyone.
Hello.
Happy Monday. Here we are in a new setting, and we've got our energetic alignment and mindset podcast. We're in sunny Colorado right now, coming to you guys every Monday. So we've got a little bit of setup here going on. Hopefully everything works well.
Yeah, please let us know if you are watching us right now, how everything is on your end. That would be wonderful.
But yeah, so we're really excited. So if you've never been with us before, we're all about energetic alignment and mindset, trying to help you out in this world. And the fun thing about that is that energy is all around us. We can tap into that wonderful energy and we can manipulate that to our advantage, understand what's happening in our minds so that we can get out of the way of those things that we want in life. That's the biggest part of it, is getting out of the way. Hey, Carolyn. Awesome. Everything's working great. Love it. Thank you very much. Sweet. So yeah, so even though we're taking a little bit of vacation to visit our friend here, Byron the Magnificent, Mr. Long Island, he's known as everything, but the greatest SEC attorney ever. If you need real estate, Securities and Exchange Commission, that's the SEC, where you can raise money and do all that. A lot of stuff in my world, but I just have to give a little plug for him and Three Pillars. His law firm that we're sitting in right now, borrowing this space. But we wanted to make sure that we could still give you an awesome episode, give you something to digest and chew on for the week so that you can just get a little bit more improved and get your own mind out of the way, right? Identify more things that you can work on. Super fun. So yeah, feel free, like Carolyn just did, comment in here at any time, and that's the best way to interact with us. Love that. And we've got a good one for you today.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about things that so how do I want to start this? This was inspired by my own healing session with one of my coaches that I work with. And it was something that was so in my face, but I didn't even realize what was happening. And until I was working with her and she called me out on this pattern that I was stuck in, and she just asked like such a simple question of just, well, how is this supporting you? And what part of this is supporting you? You may have heard me talk about this before. It may have come up in previous episodes or in previous content of mine, or if you're a client of mine. But the bottom line is, we attract chaos, we attract roadblocks, we attract frustrating things into our life, not because there's like a gray cloud following us, not because we're doomed to bad luck forever, not because we're meant to suffer. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We're meant to thrive. We cause our own suffering, and we cause our own suffering through parts of our subconscious that these roadblocks, this chaos, these frustrating moments, they're actually supporting, they're actually serving. And this part of our subconscious thinks that this chaos, the roadblocks, the frustrating moments, that it thinks that those are a good thing, that keeping those active in our life it's doing us a due diligence, right? And hearing that, it can be very frustrating because it's like, I don't want chaos. I don't know anyone that really, really wants chaos or high stress or just roadblock after roadblock in their life, right? I don't really know anybody that would opt for that.
There's some masochists that might be out there, but yeah, no, right. Let's make life easier, right? You want things to be easier, happier, so that you don't have to deal with all that BS and you can just get these things that you want out of life.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I was one of those masochists because, hey, Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Because
right on.
I used to have like a kink for struggling.
Ooh la la.
And this is something that, there's actually a book that covers this. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. It's called Existential Kink. And I read it many years ago, but it is a wonderful book that shows us how we literally attract these types. Hey, Tammy. How we literally attract these types of experiences into our life because a part of us enjoys it, because a part of us gets off on it, because a part of us is like, yes, like I get to shine now. I get to prove my worth through this experience, okay? And I will give you guys an example from my own life, and then we'll go into examples that you may deal with. But some chaos or roadblocks that we may experience are like financial chaos or roadblocks, or it could be relationship chaos where we keep finding ourselves in similar relationships over and over and over again, or the lack thereof. We can't find a relationship, right? We can't get ahead financially. Every time we do, all hell breaks loose and we're like, oh my gosh, like what is happening right now? Or it's like thing after thing after thing after thing just keeps happening. And maybe we make money and then we're just shelling it out. Or maybe we meet someone and then we find out all of this stuff about them. Or maybe we're about to sign a deal and all hell breaks loose and something happens to where your deal doesn't go through. So when these patterns start to show up in our lives, and they do, and they will, instead of getting frustrated, instead of asking yourself, why is this happening and how can I make it stop? We have to ask ourselves different questions, because there's a part of you that this experience is actually supporting. It's actually serving. It may not be the majority of you, but it is a part of you. And so we have to get intimate with that part and ask, okay, if this was serving me, if this was supporting me in one way or another, how would that be right now? Like, how is this supporting me? And for me, for moving into this space of wanting to grow my business, growing a human, starting a family with Zac, I've been experiencing my own chaos within my business and the structure and just deciding how I want it to scale. And so I was working with my healer / coach friend, and she's like, well, how does staying in this cycle, how is it supporting you? Like, how is it serving you if you stayed in this frustrating cycle that you're finding yourself in? And I'm like, well, I don't know how it's supporting me because I don't want to be here. And she's like, yeah, I understand that. But if it was, then what is it doing for you? And immediately what came to mind is it's allowing me to be supported by Zac. It's allowing me to be supported because growing up, I had to support myself. Growing up, it was always like, I need to just hurry up and make money. I need to hurry up and grow up. I need to hurry up and mature, because then I could help my parents out. I could help my family out. And now that part of me is throwing a tantrum like, fuck this. I want to be supported. I want to be taken care of. I want to be held, and I want to be not responsible, right? Because I've been responsible since I was 6. And so that part of me is this part of me that is like holding me back, that causes me to sabotage myself, that causes me to kind of, when I get some momentum going, I might have a day where I'm like, oh, I just think I'm just gonna like take it easy. I've had like a few good days, I just want to take it easy, right? And so I realized that this part of me was doing this, and I don't even think I talked to you about this, probably the first time hearing it.
Yeah. See, this is always fun, guys, when you dive in a little bit of everything. you find out new things about yourself, about your partners, and that's one of the things I love is continually doing this is we're just exploring things within ourselves too. And then the beauty is we get to communicate it, maybe live. So that's fun.
Because she even was like, it might be a good idea to talk to Zach about this. I was like, yeah, I will.
Yeah.
But then we were
Now we're doing it.
vacation and yeah, because that was on Thursday and we left Friday. No, we left Thursday night. So that was Wednesday. We left Thursday. Yeah. And yeah, so there's this part of me that is just craving that support, right? And Zach, he does a wonderful job at supporting me in every single way, in ways that I didn't even think I was worthy of being supported in. And I can feel myself wanting to cry because there's a part of me that still doesn't think that I'm worthy to receive the support. So it's that part that I get to connect with, to let them know, like, yes, and yes, we can be supported, and this gets to be fun, right? So I share that story with you, one, to show you that, like, the stuff that we talk about, we actually experience real time, and two, to help you navigate areas in your life. Where do you feel the most frustration? Where do you feel the most, like, where is it the most chaotic? What patterns show up for you that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this anymore. I just want it to stop. Well, instead of wanting it to stop, what if instead you asked, how is this supporting me? How is this if this continued to play out, what part of me would benefit from this? Like, if it continued to play out that I didn't scale my business any higher than what I did right to where I am at today, how would I continue to benefit from that? And it would be that Zach would have to support me. So I would get that support that I've been craving for 26 years, right? And so we have to connect with those parts of us, because once those parts then get that awareness, then we can start to work with ourselves instead of against it, right? So when you identify how it's serving you, and so many people will be like, well, it's not serving me. This isn't what I want, right?
Yes.
But what if it was? What if there was a teeny tiny part, even if it was 1% of you, it's still 1% of you. And that 1% might be your pinky finger, but we all like our pinky fingers. And so how is it serving that part of you?
And when it's your subconscious, you don't make logical sense of it a lot of the time. So it's just something that's in there. So even that 1% of you, that is your subconscious. That could be something from your past. That could be something from, just not a long past, but it could be a long past ago. And I mean, I'm thinking of similar things in my life where, I'll end up creating some chaos. You tend to notice that in me a lot, right? It's where I'll create some chaos in my life, it seems, or chaos will show up. I don't try to create it, but chaos will just show up. And, that stems from something in my past where I always had to figure things out. And if I could have figured things out, I wouldn't have had this trauma that was in my past. So there's part of me that loves to figure things out. It's that engineer in me. That's why I went to engineering school. And it's just, I'm constantly trying to figure things out. But why does that have to be a problem that I'm creating the whole time? It doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't. Things can be easy. Yet there's that little part of me that likes to have that thing to figure out, because then I can say, oh, look, I figured it out amidst all this chaos, amidst having not enough time to do it. Here I am, and I was able to do that thing. But why do I have to be so happy with that? Why does the inner part of me seek that out at the end of the day? It's trying to solve something.
It's trying to get your awareness. It's trying to get your attention, because we tend to neglect these parts of us because we think that they are a nuisance. We think that if I could just get past this experience, get past this roadblock, get past this chaos, things will be great. But what we don't realize is we just recreate it over and over and over again, because it's not us consciously creating these scenarios. It's that subconscious part of us that wants your attention. And the more we ignore these parts of us, the louder they become. And for some people, it might manifest as physical ailments. So if you have a physical ailment and it's showing up and you're like, what the hell, where is this coming from? Or why is this here? How is it serving you? What do you get from that ailment? What does that ailment allow you to do or not do? What does this ailment provide for you? What does this ailment like get you out of, right? So we have to kind of play detective here, but if we ask better questions, we get better answers. Mm-hmm. And then we can connect to these parts of ourselves that are literally manifesting this shit in our life so that we can stop resisting it, stop pushing against it, stop making it bad because it's trying to do something good for us. And instead, we can see it for what it is, and then we can tell it, hey, thank you for this, and let's find a more supportive way that serves us present day moving forward. This technique, this habit, this sabotage, this illness, this relationship pattern has served me, has served us up until this point, but we're different now. And like, I'm literally encouraging you to have a conversation with yourself.
So yeah, so what are those questions they should ask themselves to help dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, so the questions would be, one, how is this serving me? How is this roadblock, frustration, chaos, this pattern, this ailment, how is it serving me? Or how is it supporting me? And then you can ask yourself like, what? And then from there, then you would just play detective. Like, what do I get from this? What does this allow me to do or not to do? And these are just different ways of asking yourself this question that you see at the bottom of the screen. And you guys will have replays, so you can come back and write them down. But it really is, it's just all those questions that we just went over, and it's just but it's important to ask yourself these questions as many different ways as you can, because the more angles we hit the subconscious with, then the more wholesome this answer will be. Okay, because the subconscious is imaginative, it's creative, it's illogical, it's not going to make sense. So you might even get slightly different answers. That's okay. Zoom out. What's the bigger puzzle that it's all these pieces are connecting to create?
So maybe even taking a step back and asking, what type of chaos and roadblocks are you experiencing first, right? Because that's the first step is, and it's going to be in your personal life, sure, in your business life, your professional life, whatever that is, in your romantic life, in your interpersonal connection type of life. If you're feeling that there's like, you're just trying to identify what's that thing that if there was a thing, ask yourself, if there was a thing that was in my way, what is it stopping me from getting to that next level? Is it money? Is it relationships? Is it I'm too shy? Is it I'm too fearful to go and take that next step? Or you're just noticing something that is a roadblock. Maybe it's more of a physical thing that you end up seeing at the end of the day. Maybe it's clutter in your office. Maybe it's clutter in your life.
Maybe it's needing something to happen, and every time it looks like that thing's going to happen, something else happens to where it falls through. There's so many ways that you don't give
priority maybe to that one thing, and maybe you'll procrastinate and you'll do other things. You just push something aside to the last minute.
Yeah, and then once you figure out what it is, then you would go into these questions and ask, okay, well, how does this thing that continues to show up, how does it actually benefit me?
It might be your behavior.
Yeah, it might be, like I said, like for me, it benefits the part of me that wants to be supported and wants to be supported in all ways. And for someone else, for like a relationship who keeps finding themselves in relationships where they need to fix people, it might be benefiting them. Like they get to come in and play hero. They get to come in and be the knight in shining armor. They get to come in and be that rock for somebody, or for somebody who maybe you keep hitting ceilings with your business or your financial goals, or you keep finding yourself hitting dead ends or something. Maybe that's benefiting you because it's preventing you from taking on too much, because there's a part of you that is afraid of taking on more in your life, or there's a part of you that's afraid of what it would mean. Like maybe you have to stop being friends with some of the people that you're friends with if you were to commit time to doing something new. If you were if you want a relationship and you're having a very hard time finding a serious relationship, maybe it's benefiting you and supporting you from getting your heart broken, or it's helping you stay at a space where you don't need to be vulnerable. And there's so many sneaky ways that these things show up, because there's so many subconscious parts and pieces to us that these experiences will serve. So ask yourselves all of these questions, all of these variations of these questions, so you can get to as specific as possible with these parts of yourself. You're giving them a voice. And think of them, like, the image that keeps coming to me is like a little 3 or 4-year-old kid.
Yeah, that's how I always envision it, because it's this little kid who doesn't know any better, right? And he's just reacting to the world. She's just reacting to the world that's happening to them in that moment. And so they need to be coddled, they need to be loved, they need to be heard. You know, before telling them to stop crying, just give them a hug, you know, and then start addressing those questions and figuring out what is it that they're trying to achieve. What is it that they want? Do they want an ice cream? What is that proverbial ice cream that they need in order to feel good and to feel whole, so that they can move forward in life at that point?
Yeah, and just this weekend, our friend took us to this whitewater festival here. And I was walking down the sidewalk and I kept hearing this little boy, and he's trying to get his mom's attention. And he's like, "Mom, mommy, mommy, mom, mommy, look at me. Mommy, pay attention to me." And he started progressively getting louder and louder and louder. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening with your subconscious. It's just getting louder and louder and louder until it's manifesting as physical ailments, as relationship distress, financial distress, roadblocks in business, roadblocks in just everyday areas that you can't get motivated, chaos in your life, whatever it is. It's that little boy or girl in you that's just literally yelling, trying to get your attention. So when you finally give it your attention, you stop resisting it, that's when it calms down. And when it calms down, you can then work with it. We can't work with a toddler that's screaming. Yeah. Right? They're not going to listen to you. But once they're calm and they know they're loved, they know they're in a safe space, they know that they're heard, right? Then we can start to reason with them. Then we can start to communicate with them. And you are no different. We are all just grown up little kids. And so by taking this technique and working with yourself by asking, okay, if this were supporting me, how is it? How is it supporting me? What good is it doing in my life? Or what does it allow me to experience that if it was no longer in my life, I wouldn't be able to experience? Then get to that question. Give this part of you a voice so it can calm down. And then from there, what you would do is you just begin to work with it every day, just like a little kid. You don't just give it attention once, give the little kid attention once and all is good. You give them a kiss when they go to bed. You greet them when they wake up in the morning. You feed them. You check in on them. This is the same thing. It's coming home to yourself, because so many of us have abandoned ourselves over the years through putting other people's needs in front of our own, through thinking we're too emotional so we don't feel our emotions, through just ignoring our wants and needs, as simple as like taking a sip of water or going to the bathroom. And that builds up over time, and your mind might forget, but your subconscious never does. And when we start to build this relationship with our subconscious, we give those parts of us that have just been lingering in the shadows that voice and that love and that greeting when they wake up and that first meal that they've been starving to have. and that afternoon check-in to let them know that you're still here and you care for them, right? It's all just building a relationship with yourself and then brainstorming what better way can we go about this. We're no longer 5 years old. We're no longer 7 years old. Now I'm 30, 40, 50. We're a different person. I'm sorry that I wasn't there in the past, but I'm here now. And I encourage you to actually talk to yourself like this because you needed someone to talk to you like this when you were younger. And from there, then ask yourself, what would happen and how would that benefit me? So if this is no longer supporting me, what do I need to replace it with? Like, what would support me today, the version that I am today, right? And then you begin to work that in.
Okay. Yeah. So do you want to take your example a little further? For your example where you're craving someone to support you.
Yeah, so for my example, the fear here is that if I get past this financial ceiling that I have placated myself at, that I will no longer be supported by Zac. Then I'll have to be the one supporting us. Then, like, this is a fear that I have because I've always, like, I grew up, and a lot of women who watch this probably grew up hearing, like, you need to be independent and you should take care of yourself and don't rely on any man to take care of you and blah, 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 all of those things. And deep down, I want someone to take care of me. Like, it took me a really long time to admit that. I want to be supported. I want someone to take care of me. But even as I speak that, I can feel the shame inside of me, the societal shame that says, what are you, just a gold digger? Are you just a freeloader? Like, you just want to, like, sit on your ass and, like, let your partner take care of you? I feel that shame because women specifically hear two mixed messages. We hear the message of be independent and don't rely on any man. But then we hear the message of you need to be at home. You need to take care of the family. You need to be there for your kids or whatever, your partner. You should be taking care of your partner, whatever it is. So we hear conflicting things, and then so this is conflicting within us. And it's like, all I want is, and being a female in general, we are more feminine energetically. Like, so females we all have feminine and masculine energies, right? And it has nothing to do with our physical appearance, it's everything to do with energetic. Feminine energy is typically what female bodied persons inhabit more of naturally. We naturally want to be softer. We want to go slower. We want to receive more. We have an easier time receiving than males do, than masculine energetic.
Feeling in your emotions.
Yeah, we want to feel our emotions.
Feeling other people's emotions.
We want to be held. We want to be supported.
Yeah.
But those innate wants, those innate desires, those innate needs, we also feel shame for. Because in our society, we're taught just being supported by our partner, oh, we lucked out. We lucked out. We're freeloading. We're gold digging, right? And so then it creates this inner conflict within us. And I think that I can speak for most women when I say on some level, deep down, all we want is to be supported. And people will hear that and they'll be like, well, I don't want to be financially supported. I can take care of myself. Rock on. But you want to be supported emotionally. You want to be supported mentally. You want to be supported physically. Like, you're not going to be with a partner who doesn't meet your physical needs, right? We want to be supported. So of course, financial support will fall into that. And I ignored that for so many years. I was always on, like, no, I can take care of myself. I don't want to rely on a man. My parents divorced when they were young. My mom took, like, the independent caretaker role on. And it was always a battle with finances between her and my dad. And I even dated men who, like, my last previous relationship, my long-term relationship, he had a child with a woman that he wasn't with, obviously. And so it was a financial battle with him. And I saw my childhood through my relationship with him. And I'm like, holy shit. And that's when I first started seeing it. And then coming into the relationship with Zac, he, right off the bat, he was more than willing. Like, he didn't expect me to do anything. He was almost like, I feel like you're trying to like prove your worth here. I remember we were at Howard House and I was wanting to buy groceries or something, and you're like, I feel like you're trying to prove yourself here. I was trying to like prove myself in the relationship, that I was bringing something to the table.
You were trying to do a lot. And I remember I'm gonna run something at that time in that month. And I remember she was giving me a massage darn near every day. And holy smokes, that was wonderful. But she was just giving. I wish that continued, sure, right?
Still continue.
It does, yeah, okay, maybe. But yeah, so she was trying a lot. She was trying a lot in that time, and I was noticing all those things, and that's cool. And yeah, so I can get that. I get that. That makes sense.
And what that does is it puts a feminine energetic, a typically dominant feminine energetic being in their masculine, right? So now you're butting heads with your partner. You're butting heads with the person that you want to support you. And this was my big thing, is that I would get in my masculine. He would sense that. He's like, I feel like you're in your masculine energy. Or like, he would like, you're like being a little more masculine. And I embodied that for most of my life. I was always more so in my masculine energy. One, because I'm like, I have to prove myself and I have to take action, and I have to, like, I'm a business owner. So I have to think, I'm like constantly in my masculine energy when I'm working, which isn't a bad thing. Females and males will oscillate from masculine to feminine energetics depending. And even within the relationship dynamic, there are times where he's more in his feminine and I'm more in my masculine, and vice versa. You will find something that works for you. But ultimately, we have to get honest with ourselves about these desires that we want deep down and stop ignoring them, stop resisting them, because that's what I was doing, is I was resisting this desire to be supported. Because I kept receiving messages that receiving support is a bad thing. Receiving support means I'm weak. Receiving support means I'm incapable. Receiving support means X, Y, and Z. I was creating meaning around receiving support. And so when my coach healer friend pointed out to me, it sounds like you just want to receive support from your partner. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that is exactly what's right. But I feel guilty admitting that. And so for those of you watching this, that thing, that roadblock, that chaos that keeps getting in your way, what are you trying to like circle around? What are you trying to avoid admitting that you actually want? Because like me, this roadblock with just getting past this ceiling in my business, this financial ceiling in my business, I have to admit that this is here because I want to be supported. And if this isn't here, I might have to be the one that supports us. I've created this story in my head. So then I'll be in my masculine energy. I don't want to be in my masculine energy, right?
So it's interesting. It seems like Tammy's relating a lot to all of that too. She's going to that similar struggle. When you mention that there, that thing that you're tiptoeing around, that you're avoiding, and I think about the chaos in my life, and the first thing instantly came to mind for me is asking for help. That's what I'm avoiding. And that's why this whole year is trying to be about who and not how to do it myself. It's about who can do those things. And that's also my subconscious choosing that word, because I'm just craving. I want to ask for help, yet as a man, it's a big thing about with respect, where that's difficult to ask for help, because then it says that I need this and I can't do this thing by myself, is what my subconscious is telling myself, right? That's not what my conscious is. It's like, yeah, I want help, right? I'd love some help. I have so much chaos that's going on. I can't handle all these different things. They're all clustering together. It's all these different steps. Gosh, I just want some more help, But inside, that little boy is saying, no, don't ask for help. Bottle this all up, like inside.
And yeah, so how is it, how is you having that chaos and not asking for help? How does that support you?
It makes me feel like I can do this thing, that I don't need help, right? That I don't need help, that I can persevere. Look, he did this all on his own. wow, he's so great because he can do all these things all on his own. And gosh, I don't want that, right? So for me, that's my shift that I have to make,
So
is allowing that.
Sorry, it also sounds like there's like a I'm capable piece to this.
Oh, definitely.
Because I know just from our experiences with one another, like sometimes I'll say things and you will interpret them through the lens of I'm saying you're incapable. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so that's just
That's
kind of
very
what's
true.
like coming up is that part of you is like, I'm capable of doing this. I'm capable of figuring this out. It's like a pride.
It
like,
is.
I did this.
Yeah.
Like, against odds, like something around those lines is kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, all those things are resonating with me completely because, yeah, it's definitely sometimes when we get in fights about different discussions, she'll say one thing and mean one thing. I'll hear something different. And what I'll end up hearing is that, why are you stepping on it? Why are you trying to do this thing yourself? I can do it. Like, are you saying that I'm not good enough at it? Are you saying that I'm not capable of that thing? Are you saying that you're better than that? Either way, my ego is like, bing, 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 bing. It's got like red lights that are going off because I want to be that masculine role for her so that she can be in her feminine more. So I'm just like, back off a little bit, but it ends up being like, back off a little bit, a little more than it really needs to be.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and Carolyn, going back to the feminine energetics conversation, that's the thing. We are taught that being provided for, being supported, that makes us weak, that makes us incapable, that makes us not good enough. And like, we need to prove it. We need to prove that we are worthy of receiving what it is that we want. And that's such bullshit. What we need is just to admit that that's what we want. Once we admit it, like, feel that liberation of energy that comes up when you just admit, like, yeah, this is what I want. It's almost like finally, thank you. I've been tapping on this glass bottle for the last 20 years and you finally opened it up for me. And so that's the first step, is like admitting this is what I want. Like Zach's admitting, I want help. Like, I would like help. I don't want to have to figure everything out all of the time. I want someone to come in and help me figure things out. And I'm admitting, like, I want support. I want to receive support. And also talking to these parts of ourselves and recognizing I can have that and still I can receive support and still make a lot of money. He can receive help and still take on as much as he wants. And we do this because we remind that part of us that might be gripping on to this unhelpful habit or pattern or chaos, might be gripping on. You can still have that and have the other thing that you actually want today, right? So there's this part of you in the past and a part of you today, you want conflicting things. But the part of you in the past is your subconscious. So it's always going to win the fight, right? And so we can tell ourselves, like, I can make a bunch of money and still be supported. I can get help and still take on as much as I want. I can X, Y, and Z and still whatever it is that we actually want. I can still do all of this and still have what that subconscious part still wants. And it can look differently. It doesn't have to look like how it's looked in the past. I don't have to struggle every time I want to up level in my business. He doesn't have to struggle every time he wants to expand in his, right? We don't have to struggle when we communicate with these parts of ourselves and stop trying to push back against them. Stop trying to resist them. Stop trying to ignore them.
Yeah, do you guys see how powerful this is? I mean, this is so cool because I didn't expect to be getting into my own mind to solve this thing while we're here today. And I'm learning something new about her that she didn't quite yet communicate to me, right? Tell me.
And again, that's that part of me that I think I need to do it all on my own.
Yeah.
So this part that craves support, but I still think I need to do it all on my own. So I've been working on it.
And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay that, we're not perfect right away and that we're not perfect or we're not even as good as we want to be right then, even though we know those next steps to take. That's okay, right? It's you're taking these incremental little steps. And so you've got that awareness, and she had to chew on all of that a little bit and maybe figure out in her mind, because she's a little overthinker at times too, figure out the best time to tell me, or maybe she was just procrastinating because she was battling that inside her head. But wonderful, here we are. We have a forum now. We had an opportunity, and she didn't shy away from that opportunity. And when it was, the spotlight was starting to come into me, because I was putting that on my own subconscious as a spotlight, it's like all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I'm going to step into that, because we both want to be better. We want to identify these things. We want to achieve more. And so you guys do too. So it's part just asking yourself those hard questions and then figuring out those next steps from there, those next actions to take. And that's why it's so nice to have someone to work with. You know, whether it's someone professionally, you know, she works with lots of people. She also seeks out someone to elevate her, and get a coach for her as well. And the same thing, but you can also have that in your partner, right? And what a wonderful thing, in my mind, what a wonderful thing to be able to have that type of communication, that growth, that depth with your partner in life, because you've chosen them for a reason. And you guys both want to be better for each other. You both want to show up as more for each other. And you want to help the other person in whatever they want, whatever they don't even know that they want at that time. So just being open about that, being vulnerable. I mean, that's what part of a relationship is. So yeah, lots of all the feels, Tammy. That's
yeah,
right.
and if this is resonating with you because you want a relationship and it just seems like you can't find the one that you want, or it's just like, okay, well, when is it going to show up? Then apply what we talked about today to your relationship life, to your love life, and really get clear with yourself and ask, how is this supporting you? Like, what part is your situation? What part of you is it supporting? The part that wants X, Y, and Z, the part that's afraid of X, Y, and Z, right? And then get to the bottom of that. And then from there, open up this dialogue with yourself of, okay, yes, like, where did I learn this from? And then you can figure out where you learned it from. You don't need to know. Sometimes it just helps to have that awareness. What you need to know is that it's not supporting me any longer. So I got to work with this part of me so I can support this part of me, so that we can together get what is actually going to serve us today, not 20 years ago, but today, right? Does that make sense? You might have to rewatch this a couple times if you're watching the replay to really grasp that. But when you can do that, then you can ask, okay, what's my next step from here? Like, my next step was obviously having a conversation with him, which we're having on this live. and from there, then it's liberating that energy that has been bottled up inside of you for months, years, decades, whatever it is. And once that energy is liberated, now we can replace it with other energy, which is the thoughts of the version of us that has what we want, or the emotions of the version of us that's living the life that we want, or whatever it is. Then we can practice bringing in those and affirming that lifestyle, right? Whatever it is. But first, we have to liberate the energy that we've been hoarding and holding on to for however long, because we've been resisting that part of us, addressing that part of us. So for your guys' homework, if you want homework, go ahead and address this part of you. Make a list of every area in your life that's less than desirable, or like situations that keep coming up that are chaotic or that feel frustrating, or it is a roadblock. And and then ask, really get honest and vulnerable with yourself. Because like I said, there might be some shame tangled up in your answer. Like, there was some shame when I admitted I want to be supported. There's still shame.
Okay.
And so it's going to take some time and shame dies with compassion. And Zach's the most compassionate person I've ever met. So it should be helpful for me. But yeah, so it might take some time to get to that point of admitting to yourself what you actually want or how it's serving you. But when you do, then, okay, what's the next step here, right? And let yourself answer. Let yourself kind of figure like, you know what you need, right? I know that I needed to talk to Zac. I know that I needed to connect with him. I need his compassion because I will never release this on my own. I'll just bury it. So I need his compassion in order to help me get out of my head when it comes to receiving support. Like, there's even times where we'll go out. Last night, he like, we went out and I was craving chocolate. I'm like, if this place has dessert, can I get some? Like, can we get some? And he's like, yeah, of course.
Of course.
He's like, do I have my money? I was like, yeah, I have your wallet in my purse, but I also have money too. Like, I can buy it. He was like, okay, or I can just get it. Like, so it comes out like that.
That's interesting. Yeah. I noticed that as being a weird
Yeah.
response from you,
Yeah.
but like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so notice the little nuances and how you talk about, like, if you want a relationship, how do you talk about relationships? Do you let yourself be vulnerable in admitting what you want? Like, I want to be supported, and I'm still trying to support myself. With him, the man who's openly told me multiple times, I want to support our family. And so it can feel complex at times because our subconscious is interesting, but give this an opportunity to percolate and come to the surface this week, and just see what comes up. See what comes up for you. See what wants to boil to the surface that's been trying to boil to the surface.
And that's just so interesting, Tammy. And I appreciate you for sharing and chiming in with all of this, because I never would have expected these types of things. You know, I wouldn't have expected this from her in the relationship that we're in right now, with this amount of time, with her living in our house for such a long time together. I'm a little surprised, and yet I'm seeing those mirrors that you're relating very quickly with, Tammy. And so I guess it makes sense. A strong, independent woman then wants to not give that away. It can feel like giving that thing away. Yeah, so that's it's awesome. Yeah, it's hard to undo the independence, or it can seem hard to undo. So don't cast the spell that it is hard.
Or it's the true desire is just laced with shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shame.
Because it doesn't have to be hard to undo the independence, and that's the thing.
Because
you
it's not.
You don't have to undo the independence in order to be supported. We don't have to let go of our independence in order to be supported.
I like
and
that.
That's
I like
an or statement. It's this or this.
Yeah.
Remember, it can be and. I can have this and still have this.
I always love and instead of or. That's just my normal go-to. Whenever I hear things like or, it's like, well, or can it just be and?
Yeah. Like, how can we make this an and?
Yeah.
And so I can be supported and maintain my independence. And in fact, in the tapping series that I released, in the relationship revival one, which you can still purchase if you want to, I'll put the link at the bottom of this for anyone who watches the replay. And the relationship revival one of the days, it's like day 4, 5, or 6 or something. It's maintaining your independence in a relationship and not getting lost in it, because we have that fear because it's a societal construct. It's conditioning that you're either independent or you are totally dependent on whoever is supporting you.
Yeah.
But think about this. Your job supports you every time they give you a paycheck. Do you feel dependent on your boss? Do you feel dependent on your job? Do you feel like are you so dependent on your job that you never request a day off to take care of yourself? That you do I don't know how to explain this. It's just, do you form yourself to morph into this version of yourself for your job, or do you maintain your independence while you're at work, right? You are supported by your paycheck, by your employer, or if you are your own employer, you're supported by all of that, and you're still independently you. You're still making decisions for yourself. You're still taking days off. You're still wearing whatever you want. You're still having the conversations that you want, pitching ideas, whatever it is, right? And so it's just shifting that perspective of, well, if I have this, that means I can't have that anymore. No, you can have both. You can have both. And that's what your subconscious mind needs to hear, that you can have both until it feels safe enough to give up the one that's no longer serving you.
That's pretty powerful. And for any guys watching anything like this, you might relate with me where it can be more difficult just to get in your own feelings, get in your own thoughts. I don't know what women, they probably have similar things that they'll relate to what I'm going to say, but I definitely know for men, we're just very good at just bottling that thing up and just chugging forward for so many different reasons, right?
So think of all the
So
repressed
many.
energy
Tons.
men have.
Men have tons of repressed
Yeah.
energy. So, trying to access those types of things in there to unwind all of that and untangle that whole mess that can be inside of you that is holding you back. I mean, that is a wonderful thing that you've helped just me. And I've seen you do that with other men too. And it can change so quickly. Yet men are also so fearful to ask for help on anything, right? And me just identifying that here, it's so quick, so quick. We're not going to want to ask for help. And yet that might be exactly what we know that we need. Yet we're going to say, nope, even though I know that that's what I need, I'm going to find a way around that because that is not prideful. It's not prideful to ask for help. And it's not machismo to ask for help. It's not what it is to be a man, to have to get into our feelings and ask for help. Well, bullshit. I'm going to call bullshit on that. I'm going to say, be a better man, right? Be a better man. If you really are, that type of person who wants to be as much as you want and can be, then ask for that help. Open a new door that you haven't opened before. And that might be with a woman to help lace that and pull that thing out of you. It might be with an energy healer that you haven't even really figured out like what that thing is to be an energy healer, to be an intuitive type of coach. You might not know what that is, but you don't have to know, right, guys? You don't have to know every answer to every damn thing in this world. I'm also talking to myself, right? It's okay. It's okay, because there's people out there that know a heck of a lot more than you, and you would hope so, and you want to tap into them. Right? And then it's going to unleash the next level of you, your awesome self that you already are. You're just poised there and you're just waiting. You're just saying, please, please, I need this thing. Yet I don't want to ask for this thing. No, just please. I'm asking you. I'm asking you to just please ask for that thing. And
also one thing that's coming up too is how it might manifest as not wanting to ask for help is you might then distract yourself with 1,000 other things that need done. So you don't need to ask for help for this one thing that you want to ask for help for because you're busy taking care of it.
There's not even time to do it, right?
There's not even time to address it.
How'd you come up with that as a possible example, huh? Yeah. No, but it's true. It's so freaking true. See?
So it's just, that's how clever we are, is we will manifest these things in our life to keep us from preventing us to receive the support that subconscious piece wants, right? Or to receive whatever it is. We will prevent ourselves from addressing this subconscious part and manifest all of this chaos in different ways too. So we have to look for the common denominators. It might be that he just had no one shows up for him. Maybe he wants to hire somebody and there's just no one, he can't find a good candidate. Well, asking for help would be hiring someone is saying, I need help. Let me onboard you. So it could show up as that. It could show up as just being so busy you don't even have time to address the thing that you need help with. And it could be just feeling frustrated that you have so much going on. You keep coming up against roadblock. So it's just, I can't move forward with this, right? There's so many different ways that this stuff shows up for us. So notice that, look for patterns, become a detective this week, take notes in a journal, keep it all up so you don't have to keep it all in your head, and then connect with this part of you. How is this supporting me? Is this actually supporting me moving forward? And then what idea, in my ideal world, what would happen? In my ideal world, I would still be supported and I would make as much money as I wanted and just be able to spend it however I wanted, which would be in alignment with our values, right? So I would be supporting us, supporting him, supporting me. And in his world, he probably would like help. So he's not doing 1,000 things a day.
That's right. Ask for help, and then
Yeah.
I get wonderful help, and then everything ends up, you know, getting exactly where I want it, which is just expanding some things in the business. And that just allows me to go into my highest and best self to do a more real specific thing that some other people can't do necessarily in that. And then I can feel proud about those types of things and the new projects. And honestly, I'm okay if I'm not doing very much. If the business is just running itself, then I can feel very proud that I have built something that runs itself. And so it allows me to just spend more time with my loved ones. Because ultimately that's part of my why and my goal in life anyway, is to have a nice, easeful life where I can spend the time with the loved ones. So yeah, so we're all working on these things.
Yeah. So take this and do this exercise this week if you can. See what comes up. Just see what comes up and see what your next steps come up as. And then from there, you don't need the next steps for the entire journey. You just need the next step. And then once you get to that step, what's the next step from here? What's the next step from here? What's the next step from here? And then eventually this chaos that you've raveled up into a really tight-knit ball will start to unravel itself. And as it does, the roadblocks will stop. As it does, the frustrations will stop.
The anxiety, all the tightness in your body, all those different things, they can start to wash away because they're just getting unraveled along with all of that too. And you'll find that things are just easier. Things feel happier without effort at that point. And that's exactly what we want for everyone. That's what we want for ourselves. We want for our family, for our friends, our loved ones, every single one that's watching this. You know, and everyone else in the world is honestly, we want all of those things for them. Just wouldn't that make a happier, nicer environment when you're driving down the road and everyone's not having tons of bottled up energy behind them, right? Goodness gracious, people would get in less accidents. Be a safer society.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. So I think that feels complete for this week.
Yeah.
So yeah. Listen to this, take some notes, write down those questions, do these exercises, and see what comes up. Because we're not meant to struggle, we cause ourselves to struggle, right?
Yeah.
And and when we can address those parts of us that we're pushing against, the struggle will naturally dissolve, okay? Might take some time, and it happens in layers. So be patient. And be compassionate with yourself, all right? But don't give up, right? And we will see you guys next Monday for episode 32. Same place, same time. We'll be back home.
Yeah, and I appreciate all you guys too. Lots of love to everything. And thanks. We're gonna go enjoy our vacation here as well, all the time, right? A little bit of business, a little bit of sharing, a little bit of fun. Got to mix them all together. Have an awesome week. See you next week. Thanks. Bye.